This is an event which brings together all the 4 waves of IAPT, so people who've been involved with the project for the last 4 years and those of you who are just starting to join it as well. We've got clinicians and managers and commissioners in the room, and really importantly, I think we've got some young people and parents as well here. Don't want to single you out, but what I would like to say is if you are a young person or a parent or carer, this is meant to be an event about planning better services for you. So if during the course of the afternoon you feel that we're drifting into conversations about what's best for professionals or services, and you think this is going away from what's best for you, then speak up. Speak up in your groups, or come and speak to me and say, "Oi, this isn't about us, it should be." So you are here to help, but you're also here to keep us to account as well. So the other thing to say is that this is a transitional point in the IAPT programme. So there are changes afoot. There's a general election coming up. There are huge amounts of interest around child mental health and mental health particularly. This is coming to the end of this phase of the CYP IAPT programme and the start of the next phase of the CYP IAPT programme. So it's really timely that we're having these conversations now. So the idea about this event this afternoon is to think about where are you at, where do you want to be, and what are the things that are going to help you get from here to there. So in the same way as you might in a therapy session have someone think about what their goals are, how far along they are towards meeting their goals and what needs to happen to get them further down the line, this is an event to try and do that. And the conversations from this event will do a few things. Hopefully it will have you think and inspired and challenged to move things forward in your own partnerships, but will also feed into what the future direction of the collaborative will be and how it can help you get to where you want to be, and to sort of feed ideas up towards NHS England and to the government, whoever comes through the door at number 10 in 2015. So we want these ideas to shape what you're doing, but we hope they'll also be able to be passed on to start shaping sort of the future direction of IAPT and future CAMHS policy. What I'd like to do next is to invite Anne York, who has agreed to be our keynote for the morning, who I'm sure will offer some things that are very thoughtful to us, both about things that may be connected to IAPT, but wider and beyond that. I think Anne's got a slide which does introduce all her connections. I was going to say something about all the things that Anne's connected in. Pretty much anything that's happened in child mental health is happening or has happened over recent years. Anne's had a sort of a touch on that. There is, I know there's a slide that's got some of these things listed, but so things like QNCC, CQC, CORE, CAPA, lots of acronyms in there. Lots of things beginning with C, I noticed. But I think it just shows that all the connections. Anne has a fantastic person to kind of come and talk to us today. So, Anne, I'd like to invite you up and say thank you for agreeing to come and talk.
Thank you, Duncan.
Over to you.
Hi, everyone. There's no clock in here, so I'm going to use my technology on my phone to set a timer and see if that works. Well, hi to those of you that I know, quite a lot of familiar faces, but quite a lot of people I don't know. I'm Anne York. My background is was a child and adolescent psychiatrist in Richmond, in Surrey, and we were a year 2 site. And I think Natalie, is Natalie here? No, somebody from our partnership is on the list, but apart from that, I can't see anybody else from Wandsworth or anywhere. No, anyway. I was asked to give this keynote, and I had to check with Duncan a few times what he wanted, because I've got so many connections. I thought maybe people wanted to know what the answer was. And I thought very hard what to tell you and about CAMHS coming into the future. And this is my thinking on it, I guess. So I'm talking to you about what's next after what's next. And as Duncan said, my connections, I've got lots of different things which at times I used to sometimes talk about them as conflicts of interest, but then I realised that actually they're not really, they're just really useful linkages to have. And then I got thinking, well, do these define me? Are they me, these different things that I do and have done over time? And realised that actually they don't. They're just useful experiences that I bring when I'm thinking about stuff. And I also bring other stuff. And so I put some of those other things up, like I can be a bit nerdy sometimes, as might be apparent when we come on in this talk, that I've always wanted to play the harp, but I can't find a harp teacher. So if anybody knows a harp teacher near London, please can you come and tell me at the end? And I like walking in wet woods, and so I like waterfalls, and I've got a family full of ASD and stuff. So, and really I should have been a vet, but somehow I ended up doing medicine. So that's me. Now, I wanted to start by just showing you a little bit of video about what the context is that we're living in and what technology might start to do for us. So,
technology is on the rise, and who knows how far it will go.
If my goggles don't deceive me, that's you sitting across from me.
I'm David Pogue, and on this episode of Nova Science Now,
Oh, wow.
I'm peering into the future to find out if robots can learn how to walk. Will they become our constant companions?
My dream is to have robots living with us in our home.
Could wearable robots give us superhuman strength
I can actually put my weight on the structure while you're wearing it, and you don't feel it.
and transform our lives?
The boundary between a person and robots is already starting to change.
And
My God! I can control this thing with my mind!
is it possible for a machine to read your mind
I am a superpower!
and reveal your innermost secrets?
The computer is correct!
What if all of our thoughts were public? Lying would go away. It's sort of like a mental nudist colony.
Where is all this leading us?
Oh! Dominobots!
I'm exploring the good,
So now you can walk? That's mind-blowing.
the bad,
Not every advance is progress. Not every new thing is better for us humanly.
and the not so pretty side of technology. All to find out,
Whoa, that's scary.
what will the future be like?
And you gave me a dirty look.
Up next on Nova Science Now. When we think about the
right. So what I found scary watching that video is quite a lot of that is currently available, and when I talk with young people, they're often much more aware of that sort of stuff than I am, and I realise then how old I am and how hard it is to think that that isn't in the future. Actually, it's that technology's here. But let me start by just telling you what's next in terms of the more formal stuff that we all know about, that's grounded a bit more in the moment. And as Duncan says, children's mental health has got a very high profile at the moment, thank goodness, and let's hope we don't lose it with the election. But the National CAMHS Taskforce that you may be aware that's going on at the moment, and I co-chair one of the subgroups of that. We've got the final draft of the report, and it's just being finalised by the chairs, and it should be out in March. Then in April, the CAMHS, what used to be called the CAMHS PBR project, which is now CAMHS Payment Systems or CAMHS Currencies, that sort of formally comes to an end, and there'll be a new episode, an implementation phase. And as you all know, the sort of formal children's IAPT programme in the way that we currently know it sort of ends at this financial year, but obviously we'll carry on in a different format as it's about transformation. And then goodness knows we're going to have a general election, which will be fascinating. First of all, we're going to have to sit through all those debates on the telly with all the parties, which will be fascinating. And then it'll all begin to settle down by whoever gets in, or whether we have a 7-party coalition or whatever. And then in January, the national CAMHS data sets will start flowing and beginning to give us some data from stuff that's been collected from our data sets at the end of this year, and that will include the Children's IAPT data set. So there's definitely things sort of in train. But I know whenever I'm thinking about what I'm doing, and when I was working clinically in CAMHS, and even now actually, it's very easy to have a plan, isn't it? So we've got this, that's all what's coming next, and there's a sort of vision that we're trying to change CAMHS into the future. But actually, these things are full of pit holes and struggles along the way. And I wondered whether you were feeling it's been a bit like this, because sometimes I felt like this. And this is a little monster, friendly monster though. And in case you can't read it, what he says is, guess who I am? I don't know who I am. And sometimes it feels a bit like that with CAMHS, I think, at the moment, that we used to know what children's mental health services were. And there used to be a sort of clarity about it. And I think there's so much change in the air. It's hard to know what our edges are, quite what we're supposed to be doing, what will it be like in the future. And that can be a bit scary, but it's also an interesting place to be, like that little monster. So my sort of personal vision, and whilst I said I've got all those linkages, and I'm this sort of person with lots of different experiences, I am talking to you today as me, but I'm obviously bringing those other things. My personal vision for CAMHS is that we are starting here, and we are trying to get somewhere, and we've got a sort of vision, which I'm going to show you what my vision is. But that stuff that we're muddling around with in the middle has huge value, and sometimes we think it's a bit linear, and we worry about the mess in the middle, but actually that's where all our learning goes on. So I just wanted you to look at these pictures and see if you can have a think with the person next to you. What do you think the link is between them? All right. So there's some pipe work. Some young people. A girl trying to pet the dog, and there's a screen in front of her. An old lady. Does anybody recognise that picture from the last one? It's Major Tom from 2001: A Space Odyssey. The young people in the room will have no idea what that is, of course. So what do you just talk to the person next to you for a minute and have a think what the link is. Or if what do you think? Can you hear me? Yeah? Representing what? Just can you hear me? Okay. Yeah? Anybody else? Can't get through? Okay. Well, I feel absolutely it's something about feeling sort of disconnected and wanting to connect. And I began to think about those images and what's happening in the world at the moment. And we've got this sort of rise of political parties that are supposedly attracting us because they're in touch with us. I mean, that's what people say they like about Nigel Farage and UKIP, that he just talks all that stuff that people are actually thinking. Then there's that local authority target, council target, on how are they tackling loneliness in elderly people. I thought, God, isn't that terrible? And then young people going off and being radicalised and feeling drawn into being connected in a different way to a cause. That the wealth is held by the top 1%, 1% of our wealth, the top wealth is with 1% of people. but also that the minimum wage in this country, if you're earning the minimum wage in this country, worldwide, that would be a really high wage in terms of the worldwide average. So what's going on? So another little quiz here. These are lots of little different pictures. Have you any idea what connects these? Have a little think. Networks? Yeah. This is my nerdy bit coming out, so that might be a clue. Networks. Yeah, could be. Complexity, yes. Chaos, that's getting there. Patterns, yes. Okay. Well, they're fractals. I don't know whether people know about fractals, which are basically everything on our world. You can take a small bit of something and it reflects the bigger part, and the bigger part can be seen as representing the smaller bit, and that's true in nature. All sorts of things look like that. And I was thinking about our CAMHS system and how, when we're working on the ground in our agencies, our services, in our schools or whatever, and sometimes it can feel quite disconnected, or it can be hard to work with other people. And I sometimes wonder, is that because it's just reflecting the fact that at governmental level we've still got this split between health and education, for instance, and social care. So I started thinking about fragmentation and how we've got this language at the moment, haven't we, about the world feeling fragmented. So people are very worried about the NHS getting broken up and privatised and fragmented, and we've sort of lost the vision that actually it's about being free at the point of use. The words we use are, what we worry about is about it being fragmented and broken up. Greece is wanting to leave the EU. There was all the Scottish independence stuff last year, and how we don't think whole system when we're trying to solve some of these difficult fragmentations. So all the crisis in A&E this year, and lots of money was given to try and free up A&E, which was a great thing, but actually the main problem with A&E was that they can't move people on because there aren't enough beds, because they can't move people out of beds because there have been cuts for councils. So, should that money really have gone to the councils? Do we think we should be having more services, or should we be doing something for neighbourhoods? Should we be giving medicines, or should we be using therapies? And I suppose that's something very pertinent to what I've been thinking about the future of Children's IAPT recently, in that, as a medical doctor, I've been thinking about, well, how do we fit doctors' training into this, and the use of medicines alongside therapies? How do we put that into Children's IAPT? Because that's the reality on the ground. This says, oh my God, I've finally discovered what's wrong with my brain. On the left side, there's nothing right, and on the right side, there's nothing left. And that's a split between body, mind and spirit, and I sort of worry a bit that the young people in our society at the moment are reflecting this fragmentation that we've got, and most people are finding that there's more and more young people wanting to come into services. They're feeling more and more distressed, more and more self-harm, a whole load of things are going on. What's that about? Are young people reflecting our fractured system? So then I got thinking about, actually, with the age of the selfie and bitcoins and things, so there's lots of, look at me, where I am. I mean, there's probably people tweeting. I can see Robin down there tweeting as we speak about where they are and what they're doing. Bitcoins are a sort of currency that operates without any sort of real control at the centre. It's operated by the network, by the people. So we are feeling desperately that we want actually to connect up with people and each other despite this fragmentation. But then I got thinking, well, that's true, but actually, do we sometimes swing the other way and are really desperate for some rules and feel we ought to follow rules rather than following our hearts? And this is another bit of video that just sort of follows that line.
Hey, how was your kid? Great. Tell me everything.
He's cute, smart, funny. Honestly, I think I'm gonna text him right now.
No!
No! Wait, are you kidding me, man?
We had so much fun.
Look, you gotta wait at least 2 days or you're gonna look desperate.
Okay, I don't want to mess this up.
Oh, it's him. It's an inside joke. He makes these penguin fart sounds like.
You waited 3 days, right? Uh-huh. You wait a week. Well, I just know that you weren't just sitting here, like, waiting for that text. I know that. But he cannot know that.
Girls playing games.
We made out for a really long time. I'm gonna text her.
Absolutely not! Look, you gotta wait a month if you want to win the game.
I don't want to play the game.
Then you lose the game!
It's a power play. Let him know who's in charge and get back to him in 6 months.
What if he's the one?
All the more reason to.
Oh my god, she's still interested.
It's a trap!
What?
No, look, whether or not she knows it, she wants you to ignore her. Just think how good the sex is gonna be when you get back to her.
Okay, how much?
Hey, babe.
1 second, honey. Use an exclamation point. Should we kiss?
No, you use nothing.
Oh, my little girl, I'm so proud of you. Have fun at space school.
You know what to do.
So drinks tonight.
Fuck it.
So clingy.
Okay. So then I thought, how can we keep ourselves, you know, thriving and well with all this stuff around and not end up being like that? So most of you have probably seen this stuff that came out of the Foresight Capital Wellbeing project a couple of years ago about how to keep on track in our lives. And there are these 5 areas about connecting, learning, giving, being active and taking notice. But when I started to think about what it feels like at the moment, I realised that we're not, certainly in services, it doesn't feel like that. So in terms of activity, we're feeling either paralysed or frenetic and overworked. We're not really feeling very connected in that the brain, the sort of centre, sometimes feels very disconnected from what's happening there on the ground. It's very hard to take notice of things and have time to reflect. Our minds are getting disconnected. It's very hard to change and to learn, and as a whole public, you know, not just repeat things from the past. And so our answer to this can feel like we want more services to sort of try and pull that together. But actually, when you really think about it, things are moving in the right direction. So we are getting more active, especially through the Children's IAPT transformation, we are getting more out of the office, into schools, into communities, and we are connecting more to people. I mean, one of the things the Children's Taskforce report is really trying to do is to not reinvent the wheel, but build on stuff that's already happened and be rooted in what is actually happening on the ground. There is an increase in an understanding that we need time to reflect about things ourselves and help young people and families just take stock and be still. And we are getting better at being flexible and responsive and learning and changing, and particularly the IAPT program's helping us with that. And one of the great things that most people have the vision is of trying to get our neighbourhoods and services and young people and families and everybody working together to improve things. So parity of esteem is linking our bodies and our minds in policy, which is fantastic. And if you read the manifestos, the Labour Party manifestos come out recently, and there's complete commitment to continue that. Of course, the IAPT project is completely connecting people together. There's more and more emphasis and appreciation of compassion and values in commissioning and in the work, certainly the work the NHS does, but more wider than that. Through Children's IAPT, we're learning from each other. The CQC in the inspection framework has moved from a more punitive inspector type approach to this is about continuous learning and helping services improve. And certainly in the Children's IAPT project, what we're trying to do through participation and having experts by experience and agencies are working together, we are giving across all these other systems. So all these things, believe it or not, are not really what's next after those more immediate transformations, but these things are all available. And what I started thinking is, will this happen?
Chris, broken heart. Lisa looks like Edward Mook's The Scream. Two people with a heart in between them. Scary one-nosed devil face. Lipstick, high heels, flexed bicep. Two little dancing girls wearing cat ears. Ellie, fake planet Earth! Mustache man! Mustache man!
Blue eyes, little boy face.
Flamenco woman. Cheersing frothy beer steins. Little family, wedding ring, scissors, smiling poop, sweat droplets.
Adult woman face. Pointy finger, A-OK hand. Offensive racial stereotype. So, little angel boy.
Cat face that looks like Edward Mook's The Scream. Blushy face. Two little dancing girls wearing cat ears. Text bubble. Wedding ring. Scissors.
Walking man. Offensive racial stereotype. Cancer, astrological sign. Adult woman face.
Paranoid monkey.
Angry face.
Two little dancing girls wearing cat ears and knife. Crying face. Gun. Syringe. Knife.
You her hands.
Okay. So, I suppose what I'm trying to say and what I was thinking is that all this stuff is coming. It could be awful. I mean, that is funny, but it's also a bit terrifying, isn't it? But it could also be wonderful. So we need to make sure that technology really works for us. And if we're not careful, we could get into this trap where technology makes us less efficient. And I just thought, my goodness, that's how it feels at the moment with double entry, collecting data, you know, our IT systems not really helping. And hopefully, and I'm sure that that will be something temporary, and that in the future technology will work for us better. So will it be like this? You know, that we will all wear chips that have all our health information and perhaps other information, so when you go anywhere you can just get scanned. And I did this slide earlier this week, and then on the news this morning, I don't know if anyone saw it, there is a company where people have chips in their hands and you can get through into your building and your office like that. So these things are real. Anyway, so I suppose, what's your initial reaction to that? Is it, wow? Thinking about emojis, I just thought I'd get a bit, you know, funky. Or is it absolutely horrific thought? So some of these things, as I said, are happening. We've already got 3D printing of body parts, the Siri and sat-navs talking to us, virtual reality games. I don't know anybody saw last year, but an artificial intelligence computer program called Eugene Goostman passed the Turing test, which is a test that is used by AI machines so it can fool humans that it's real. And this one fooled most of the people it was interacting with, that it was a 13-year-old boy. So could we, if we embrace these things, have 3D pop-up workspaces? So, you know, you could, you're feeling a bit cramped, or you haven't got a space and there's nowhere in the local authority to hire, or there's, you know, it's too expensive. Would there be a way of printing off your own room to meet people in? I don't know. Could you use virtual reality in therapies to for systematic desensitization or something? Could we use artificial intelligence robots for assessment? I skipped over that one because it was more about the downside of technology, but we could start now connecting by stopping pretending that reading and answering our emails is sort of productive as it is, and start talking to people. And we could start having standing desks in schools or in our workplaces, and walk and dance, and that be a legitimate use of our time in a working day. We could start noticing and doing more mindfulness at work. We could learn better and make sure you use your filters better on the stuff coming into your inbox or into your Facebook or whatever. Downside is of that technology out there could mean that we then only get sent stuff that fits with our preperceptions and preferences, rather than us being exposed to new things. So that's the downside. So what's next? After what's next for CAMHS? Well, personally, I think, well, maybe as a thing, CAMHS won't exist in the future. It'll be more about community and well-being, and our use of digital technology and artificial intelligence and robots will enable people to sort of formulate their own issues and use decision aids more, and that our peer supports will be online, but also by meeting people, and maybe experts or professionals will be more moderators of social networks and stuff that's going on. Live chat, I mean, we've got live chat with our O2 gurus and things. Could we start having live chats with therapists? As I said before, robots could help with therapies, and perhaps medicines will become much more targeted to people's individual genetic profile and become really integrated with therapies. There's lots of people thinking about how do we create different systems. I mean, this is Otto Scharmer from the Presencing Institute that's really written some interesting stuff, but he talks a lot about how we're just creating systems that are unhealthy, and that we need to move more to where people's hearts are coming from, what's coming from our gut that we want to give, and build that into our systems and organisations. And this is the Chief Envisaging Officer from Microsoft UK, and he says, if your employees aren't engaged and empowered to fix things, your customer experience is never going to get better. Which is so true. How can we get that in the health service and in social care? How can we make sure that those of us that are working and people that are using services can actually feel that we can change things and not get stuck by the glue above us? So I think CAMHS might actually change into this, an acronym, Connecting Active Mindful Health Systems, and become sort of more whole and well, and that people will be connecting through technology and using technology to share and support things, and using robots and decision trees that are active, and having robots around will give us more free time to do stuff that matters and to actually be with people. Learning will improve. Robots might help us there as well. A lot of robots in this, I noticed. That we will have mindfulness on the curriculum and in the workplace and families, and it will just be embedded. I mean, that's beginning to come, isn't it? That our built environments will be wonderful to look at, and that our neighbourhoods will become self-supporting, and people will bake and share, and perhaps we'll have 3D pop-up kitchens that become bring and share meals, and that services will be very fluid around the edges, and with proper shared budgets and working to proper shared goals, and the robots will take the grind away and the data entry away, so that we can actually connect and be with each other. So this is my vision, I suppose, is what if we all understood from a very early age what our strengths and vulnerabilities are, and that with our ageing population, older people and young people are really supporting each other rather than it being an us and them, and that the whole, not the parts, applies to our whole lives, and that we feel integrated. And I just wanted you to watch this for 3 minutes in a mindful way and see how you feel.